So in the today's class, we are starting with the chapter called as a review of C++. Review of C++. As you all know that C++ is a programming language. C++ is a programming language. C++ is a programming language. As you all know that in programming languages, the changes are going on right from the invention of computers to present days. It means right from 1940s to till today, the softwares have been changed. The way of programming has been changed. So based on that, this C++ is in general, it is a programming language. In particular, the C++ is an example of object-oriented programming language. C++ is an example of object-oriented programming language. Then whenever you come across this particular word, object-oriented programming language, then the important word from this is the first one, object. It means in the object-oriented programming, the emphasis is given on data instead of procedure. Instead of procedure, the importance is given for data in object-oriented programming languages. Then, once you understood that the importance is given for object, then what is an object? What is an object then? The definition for object is a combination of data and the functions which can be operated on that data into a single unit is called as object. I'll repeat. Object is a combination of data and the functions which are used to operate on that data are combined into a single unit is called as object. Then one more definition you can say that what is an object means? Object is an identifiable entity with some characteristics and behavior. Object is an identifiable entity with some characteristics and behavior. Then, if you consider the example for object, the first object what I will consider is object, our mobile. Mobile is an object because we know that, right? What is an object means? It is a real world thing. In general, we can call that object is a real world entity. So, mobile is an example for an object. Then, if we check out the mobile, what are the characteristics of mobiles? So, list some, that is the characteristics of mobiles. The characteristics of mobiles may be the color, or size, screen size, colors, size. If I consider as the characteristics of mobile, then second part I'll consider that is some of the features of the mobiles. The features of mobiles may be using these mobiles, you can perform voice calls. Voice calls can be done, and also video calls can be done. Voice calls and video calls are considered as features. What are the features of that mobile? Using that mobile, I can do these things. That is, voice call can be done. Video calls can also be done with the help of the mobile. So we'll consider that as features of that mobile. Characteristics are color, size, and etc. Right? So what is an object? Simple. Mobile is an object because mobile has an identifiable name is given. It's a mobile identifiable entity. It has data. We are considering characteristics as data. Characteristics of the mobiles, we are considering it as data, and the features are considered as functions. These are the functions of the mobile, these are the data of the mobile. If you club these together into a single thing called as mobile, then this is an object. So what is an object? Object, the mobile object is a combination of characteristics of the mobile plus the features of the mobile. It means the combination of data and functions which are operated on the data combined into a single unit called as object. So after knowing this, the important part that is object. In the object-oriented programming, the importance is given for object. So what is object? We all know now. Then next. Even one more example you can consider, that is, if you take a pen, right? If I consider pen as an object, pen is an object, then what are the characteristics of pen? The characteristics of pen are, again, I consider the color of the pen, then size of the pen, right? These are the pen is an object with data and functions into a single unit called as object. So after doing this, that is in the review part, C++, object-oriented programming, then we know the object and its examples. After this, we can start with the next part of the C++ program, that is in the object-oriented programming, the OOPS characteristics, object-oriented programming characteristics. What are the characteristics of object-oriented programming? The characteristics of object-oriented programming are, first one we call it as modularity. The characteristic. Then next one, you can call it as data abstraction. And next one is, third one is data encapsulation. The next one you can call it as polymorphism. Then fifth one is write it as inheritance. And sixth one we call it as dynamic binding. And seventh one we call it as message pass. The characteristics of object-oriented programming are modularity, data abstraction, data encapsulation, polymorphism, inheritance, dynamic binding, and message passing. These 7 will consider as the characteristics of object-oriented programming. Then we should define each and every characteristics of this object-oriented programming. That is, first one will start with the modularity. What is a modularity? As we know that the term module means each sub-part of the program. A part of the program you can call it as a module. A part of the program. If you solve the problem by dividing into number of parts, then each part of that program we call it as a model. The problem can be solved by dividing into number of parts. Each part is nothing but a module. Then if you follow the concept we call it as modular approach or modularity. Using modularity, we are solving our problems. Example, the syllabus, how to complete the syllabus of any subject. Suppose think that the syllabus of CS, how to complete computer science syllabus for second year. Then the second year syllabus is divided into 17 modules. It means there are 17 chapters are there. To start completing right from first chapter to the 17th chapter. When we complete our 17th chapter, then the syllabus is completed. How we have completed our syllabus? In the form of modules. First module, second module, third module. When I complete my first chapter, I may say that the first module of the syllabus is completed. Then second module is completed. Like that, we can go on completing up to the end of syllabus. So same thing we are doing here also. Modularity. The problem is divided into sub-problems. Each sub-problem is called as a module. That approach we are calling it as a modularity. It means the program contains number of parts to solve that particular problem. Each part of the program we call it as a module. That approach we are calling it as a modularity. Then second one, data abstraction. Data abstraction. This data abstraction permits the user to use an object without knowing its background details or explanations. Data abstraction permits the user to use an object without knowing its background details or explanations is called as data abstraction. For example, we all know how to use a fan without knowing its internal details. Which motor is used in that fan? What is the speed of the fan? Which company transistors are used? How many rotations it rotates? Right? All these details we don't know. Everyone knows how to use the fan without knowing its internal details, that is background details. That we are calling it as data abstraction. It permits the user to use the features of it without knowing its background details is called as data abstraction. Then the next one is called as data encapsulation. Data encapsulation. This data encapsulation is nothing but, again, it is a combination of data and functions into a single unit called as encapsulation. Combining data and functions into a single unit called as encapsulation. Then In the object-oriented programming, data are hidden. It means directly you cannot access the data in the object-oriented programming. It means in the object-oriented programming, some security is given for the data. Some security is given for the data that we are calling as data encapsulation. It means data encapsulation provides data security because data are hidden. Due to that reason, directly you cannot access the data in the object-oriented programming. Then the next one, polymorphism. Poly means many. Poly means many. Morphism means forms. It means many forms. The message can be processed in more than one form, that we are calling it as polymorphism. A message can be processed in more than one form is called as polymorphism. Then, in this polymorphism, if you consider the two things, that is, one is it allows us operator overloading. It means the same operator can be used to perform different operations. The same operator can perform different operations at that particular instance of time. That we can call it as data overloading or operator overloading. Then one more you can consider under this, that is function overloading. The function overloading means the same function can perform different operations. A single function can perform different operations. That we can call it as function overloading. So that too can be considered and that is called as polymorphism. Then you come across the next one, that is inheritance. What is inheritance? It is a process by which the object of one class acquires the properties of another class is called as inheritance. What is inheritance? An object gets properties from another object is called as inheritance. One object can get the properties from another object is called as inheritance. For example, if I take A as an object, from this object, the object B gets the properties from object A. This we are calling it as inheritance. This process is just inheritance. The object acquires the properties from another object is called as inheritance. Then next, dynamic binding. Dynamic binding. So in this, dynamic means it is a runtime process or during execution. Then binding means compiling. Compiling. So first, binding, according to programming way, what is binding means? During the execution of the program, one program combines with another program is called as dynamic binding. I'll repeat. during the execution of the program, one program combines with another program is called as dynamic binding. For example, if you take that, while writing your C++ program, we'll write the first line as example hash include iostream.h. This line we are writing for all the programs. It means this particular header file will be added to our program during execution. The content of that header file are added to our program during execution. One program combines with another program during the execution is called as dynamic binding. Then, next you can take it as message passing. Message passing. What is message passing? The objects communicates through message passing. The objects can communicate through message passing. It means, what is the message? Message is nothing but a request. Suppose then think that there are two objects, there is object A and object B. Then how they are going to communicate? The object A and object B are communicated through message passing. What is the message? Message is nothing but a request. The object B may be requesting the object A to send this. Or else the object A gives a message to the object B to perform this operation. So that we are calling as message passing. It means through message passing, the objects can communicate each other. The objects can communicate through message passing in the object-oriented programming. So these are all the characteristics of object-oriented programming.